You're watching Next Pitch, the student-athlete playbook for parents raising tomorrow's athletes.
Hi, my name's Anthony Leveritz, host of the Next Pitch podcast, and along with my producer, Jason Cardona, we are thrilled to be able to chat with Alex Molden today. Alex Molden, former NFL football player, author, parent, all the above. He still coaches at the high school level, and all-around great guy. Great conversation chatting about character as an athlete, how to build that character, what that's like within an organization, within a team, and why it's so important. And then Alex is the father of 8 and has not only played it at a high level, but has had to parent at a high level, has high-level athletes currently playing in the NFL, also younger kids who have a chance to be great players, and have a great conversation about that process as well. Welcome to the Next Pitch podcast. My name's Anthony Leveritz. Thank you to all of our listeners for subscribing and sharing the show. If you keep doing that, it just helps us grow and gets our message out. Really appreciate it. Today, we are joined by Alex Molden. Alex Molden is a former NFL player, parent, author, coach, you name it, he's done it all. And we are thrilled to have him joining us here today. Alex, thank you so much for coming on the show. I am deeply grateful to having you here. I will have properly introduced you before we got started today, but kind of give us, for people who don't know you and your background, kind of give us your story and how you've gotten to be where you are today.
Well, how much time do I got?
You got us. Well, I'll tell you what, man. This is our show. We can go as long as we want. We can chop it up. We can do whatever we want.
Man, I'm a kid from Colorado Springs, Colorado. I'm an Army brat, and it's one of the things that because we all have different backgrounds, right? And one of the things that I know I hated back in the day was that my dad was a drill sergeant. So that discipline, right, at a young age, it was instilled in me by making up my bed, making sure my shoes are shined up, the shiny ones. Right?
Yeah.
All the little things that I hated was is the major reason why I'm in front of you now.
Yeah.
So all those different things has helped me throughout my life, throughout my journey. And, I end up finding out something about myself and about my abilities. And that thing was football. It was an escape for me. It was something that, I love till this day. And it's done a lot of things for myself and my family. But along with that, you start to understand as you grow and you go through different things, both positive and negative. You start to understand that you're not defined by what you do, right? Football became, because I dove into it, right? I dove into this thing that I thought could, lead to a brighter future. I wanted to get college paid for. Because if I didn't, I was going to go to the Army just like my dad. That's what I had in my, in the back of my mind. I said, man, I'm going to go in the Army. I'm going to do all this stuff, eat rations, travel, do all. And I'm not talking about the travel where it's cool.
Right. No.
Like, you got to go out in the field.
Yeah. Travel to places where there's bullets coming at you potentially.
Exactly.
Right.
And I was like, man, I don't want to do that. Let's see what this football thing, because I really like hitting people and not getting in trouble. Let's see where this thing goes, man. And I fell in love with that, man. And
how old were you when you started playing sports? What's your first memory? Was it just football, or did you play multiple sports?
Man, I played multiple sports, from an early age. I remember playing soccer. That was like probably my first sport. My second one was probably gymnastics. At a young one.
Yeah.
And then I got into swimming, and not because I wanted to. It's just my parents tossed me into, me and my twin brother. We was rambunctious and we just needed to burn off energy, man. And I didn't get started into playing football until 8th grade. And I just kind of fell in love with it. And we lost every game.
So I love, so 8th grade. So you end up playing in the NFL for a long time, unbelievable college career. but you didn't come to football till the 8th grade. And there's parents out there right now who have 8-year-olds, right, who are going to be listening to this and think, I got to get my time's passing me by. I've got to get my kid involved in tackle football or whatever sport it is. Yeah. Can you talk about if you're a good athlete, being a multi-sport athlete, being important as a young person doing multiple things? If you're talented in the sport that you're ultimately going to be in, the time is going to be there for you.
Absolutely. And it's one of the things that, I get a lot of, because me and my wife, we have 8 kids, right? And we have a lot of athletes within the 8 of them. And one of the things that we always did is made sure that they didn't specialize. We want them to play softball, soccer, gymnastics, basketball, baseball, like anything, but it was rugby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, do it all.
So we made them make sure that they did all of these different things. And I get it with parents thinking that they're getting passed up because, in 5th grade, they have this travel baseball team that they're year round. and then it becomes all about winning.
Yeah.
There's going to be plenty of time for that. But for us, it was more about the developing them into, number one, a good person.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was like developing the all-around athlete. And so when you just specialize in one sport, there's a lot of things that I think there's more negative than positive.
I couldn't agree more.
Right? Burnout.
Yeah.
You're doing something year-round, one particular movement, and then that creates imbalances among other things. But it was just never something that we allowed our kids to do. Our rule is this: you're going to play different sports. You have to play at least 2 different sports throughout a year, all the way up until your junior year in high school. So like for us right now, we have, and here's another thing that, parents, do. And we did this too, is, okay, we have football and soccer in the fall. And then we had in the winter, you have basketball, right? Boys and girls. And then in the spring, you would have track and baseball.
Yeah.
And so think of how your weekends are shot. Okay. Your weekends are shot, and ours were shot.
Yeah.
And we got a kid playing on Sunday.
Yeah.
So it's like, Friday night lights, Saturday, boom. Man, we're on the road. We're traveling, spending loads of money.
8 kids.
Dude, let me tell you something. So we made it a rule a couple of years ago. Okay, we're going to do the fall and winter, and in spring, you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to come to the track or you're going to work out with me.
Yeah.
So that's your sport, workouts or trainings.
Well, and I think it's such a great point, right? That full athlete, right? All of the different skills that you can get that will translate into that one unique sport for you later on.
Yeah.
Your body gets trained, less stress. And I think another thing that, and we've talked a lot about this on the show, but I think it bears repeating, sports can teach you about failure and how to come back from that. And if you only play the one sport all the time, you're going to fail less as you go.
Yeah.
And it doesn't give you an opportunity to go into a second or third sport and not be as good at it as some of the other kids and have to figure out how to compete and fail, get back up and go through that process again.
That's such a beautiful point. And I know I'm a rare bird. I understand this because when I'm in the stands, I don't want my son or daughters to just be dominating. It's cool, but I'm not in it for the wins.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm realistic. And there's no college coaches in the gym or on the football field for 7-on-7.
That's right.
5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th, whatever it is.
Can you say that again?
Oh, I'm not. It's not about the W's for me. It's about the development and can they overcome failure?
Yeah.
I'm okay with my kids failing,
losing,
bumping up their knee, any of that type of stuff. I'm okay with it because now you get to, because it's going to happen in life. They're going to be told no.
That's right.
Right. They're going to get, their boyfriend is going to break up with them. They're going to, if they've never dealt with that and understand that it's not like a death sentence, then what are we doing? So it's about like I'm totally fine
Yeah,
with taking a loss, learning from it,
that's right.
and making something positive out of it.
Yeah, because if you don't ever fail, you don't know what that process is like to come back from that.
Yeah.
And you're gonna fail at some point. Like you get in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, like you're gonna fail. Like and being able to draw on those experiences is what part of what sport is supposed to be about for young people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's keep with the parenting thing for a bit longer here. So you have obviously high level athletes in your family. You played at the highest level. You've got a son in the NFL. I know I don't know all of them because I don't know all 8 of your kids, but I know you got a son in the NFL, and I've seen one of your sons play on Friday nights in the local market here, and he's got a chance to play on Sundays too. Like he's a really talented kid. As a parent of high level kids, eventually, right?
Yep.
When did you start that process of okay? Elijah, the older, like when was that for him going to be okay? You're a dude, like you got a chance to be an elite athlete. We need to sort of shape and change what your workout regimen is, focus about football. What was that like for you guys?
Man, I think well, the first thing is he has to show, or they have to show like passion for it, because I don't want to put all this expectations on them and to be really good in their sport or whatever they're doing, and they don't try hard,
Yeah.
or they don't want it as bad as I want it for them. So I made it. I was very intentional about this with all of them. Is I'm going to support them. I'm going to play catch with them. We're going to do all this type of stuff, but it's going to have to be from them. They have to come to me first. I'm not going to ever make my kids to do something that they don't want to in the sports world. They have to want it first.
Yeah.
And so I tell them, hey, if you want to get better, if you want, especially in this game of football, because I've been in your shoes and I know we're just using this as a vehicle, it can create like a legacy. It can do some beautiful things for you, relationships, teaching you, right, what hard work is, all that good stuff, and scholarships
Yeah.
and whatnot. So I mean, and I want all that for you, but you have to want it more than I want. You have to want it more for yourself than I want it for you.
Yeah.
And so that was the number one thing. And then after that, it was like, okay, especially for Elijah, it's like, hey, I got the blueprint.
Yeah.
And yes, I had that experience, but also is I was a speed agility specialist. I was a strength coach. So I know what it takes outside of just on the field or in your sport, is I can help you become stronger and faster and more explosive, and injury prevention. So you have a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
Right? You got 2-for-1, but you still have to ask me, and I'll create a plan for you. We'll get up early. We'll do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
but they've got to want it. You
gotta
can't
want
force it
first.
on them. I tell people this all the time. How many kids I ended up coaching over the years that didn't have the burning passion for basketball by the time they got to me. And I'm in at that time, a Power 5 conference, right? Like this is the best of the best. And they didn't love the game and had to relearn how to love the game once they got to college, or they weren't going to be as successful as they could be. It was a big part of my evaluation process when they got to me was, where are you with this as far as your passion for the sport still?
Yeah.
And hopefully parents don't take that away by putting their expectation of what they want for the kid versus what the kid wants for the kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, one more thing, parenting, and this is parenting and parenting and kind of helping your kid to that next level. Recruiting. Everybody wants to know, what is it? What's it like to be recruited? How do you know you're being recruited? You're not just because you show up on a website somewhere doesn't mean you're being recruited. What is that recruiting process like? And then as a parent who's been through it, what are the important questions to ask those programs? What are the critical components in a program that you believe each parent should be looking for, helping their kid find as they find the right fit, the right program for themselves?
Yeah. Well, the number one thing for us was always been culture. And they can tell us whatever they want to, but when I watch them and as we get closer to them and we get to see how the players interact with each other, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's a big telltale sign. It's like the culture. Because you can, all the playtime and all the different things that come with playing on TV, right? NIL is just a whole nother mess. But man, if you can have all those different things, but you have a terrible culture where you hate going into, to either train or to practice or whatnot. I mean, that's it. So it was culture for us, right? Knowing that you're getting recruited, that's, having a great relationship with your head coach in whatever sport that you play at the high school level. That's number one.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't have a good relationship, and you can be a superstar, but if you don't have a good relationship, like he or she are still the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Of those coaches coming in and, want to, watch you and getting film. You want to make it as easy as possible. You want that head coach to be able to work for you, in terms of, getting all the information in front of these different coaches. One thing that you have to understand is character trumps all.
Right.
You can be a superstar athlete, but if you're a terrible person, right? And coaches they're only going to lie for you for however long.
It's a question that I asked every coach.
Yeah.
Tell me about the kid. Tell me about the human. Tell me about the parents. Tell me about the family. And if the response was the kid's a great player and didn't go deeper into that, you knew, okay,
a lot.
What are you hiring? What are you hiding from me? Right? Like what are you hiding from me here? Tell me more. Kid can really play. You want that person to talk more about, that coach should talk more about who you are as a human than they do on the field, because I already know what you look like on the field and on the court. Coaches know that. We see that. We evaluate that. What we don't see is you walking through the halls, talking to your teammates in the locker room. What do you like when you're in the local grocery store? Those are the things that kids don't understand that eventually coaches are going to find out about you.
Yeah. And another thing is like how you communicate, right? And so people think that how you communicate is just the words that you speak.
Yeah.
I say absolutely not. Your tone and how you speak to people, your parents, right? After a game, win or lose, you're always being watched as an athlete. Always. Your body language, you're communicating on the field or on the court or in the swimming pool, whatever, and things don't go your way, you start to find out exactly who that person is, right? So it's not just about when you're winning and everything is going your way. Coaches, they're very smart individuals because they get paid a lot of money to make sure they're bringing in the right type of people. And so, body language, when things don't go your way, do you start to pout? Do you start to point fingers? You can, from a coach being up in the stands, they can tell who you are based on the different environments that you're in.
Yeah.
And it's not always in that sport. Sometimes it's like in the classroom. I've heard of stories where coaches, college coaches go in and they talk to the lunch lady.
I did it.
They talk to the janitor.
100%.
Right?
I did it.
And it's like you start to find out, man, who this person is. And it's not just in one environment. You can start to here's the thing I've learned in terms of like leadership development is when you spend enough time with somebody, you can attest to this. You watch enough film, you see that player, and they're doing well, they're doing terrible, they're on the road, they're injured, they're whatever. You start to watch enough of that. The beautiful thing about character and relationships is you can start to predict behavior.
100%. 100%.
It's a superpower.
Yeah, it is. I want to go backwards real quick. You talked about culture, and I think this is really important for parents finding it isn't just about the D or the 1, the D or the 2, the NAI, the level. Yes, that's important. Now, NIL, as you already brought up, is part of this whole mess of recruiting as well. But that culture really matters. And coaches, I'm not going to say they're going to lie to you, but our job as coaches is to get you to come play for me.
That's right.
Talk to the players. And players aren't going to lie to you. Most of the time, if you get with it, when you're on a recruiting trip, whether it's an official or unofficial visit, and you get that alone time with the guys in your position group or the women, the young women that play in that same sport that you do, make sure you ask those hard questions. Is what is it like on the next day after we lose? What's it like in the middle of a losing streak? What's it like when the coach is getting blasted in the newspaper? Does he change? Do they change when that's happening? Find out and ask those hard questions, because that's where that culture comes in and that fit comes in for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny is my son Elijah, who's with the LA Chargers, is everybody thought that he was going to go to Oregon, like dad.
Yeah.
Right. And actually, we want him to go to Stanford. This dude has a 4.0, AP classes. Like, man, are you Stanford, right? And
right.
They were good.
Yeah.
Back then. I want him to go to Stanford, but we took in. He took his official visits, and he got a chance to spend time right over a weekend. And Stanford, as a culture, it wasn't a good fit, and neither was Oregon. I told him, I said, if you're going to pick Oregon, this is when Helfrich was on his way out.
Yeah.
I said, don't choose Oregon because of that head coach, because he's not going to be there.
Yeah.
And Washington with Coach Peterson and what he was all about, the relationship I had with him that spanned over 25 years.
Yeah.
Like that's a good fit. That's a better fit for you. And, our son now, Josiah, he wants to be recruited by Alabama.
Yeah.
And it's coming. The Georgia, the Florida State, the Clemson, even Ohio State, Texas. And I'm like, oh, that's fun. That's pretty cool, man. I said, in LSU or these schools down south, you think you would fit in their culture?
Yeah.
In that locker room?
Yeah.
Dude, you're out here in Westland, Oregon. Dude, they got some dogs. Like, they don't have nothing else but football.
Right.
And on top of that, they have people the same blood as them that they wanted more for them. They're willing to sacrifice any and everything, even who they are.
Yeah.
And that's not always a good thing.
That's right. I think it's great advice for parents that are going through, and this is translatable whether you're being recruited by Alabama or Willamette University or Southern Oregon University or somewhere in between. The finding out that whatever level you are, find the right fit for you with the staff that you believe is going to embody your values, have your future at the top of their priority list, as well as being the same person all the time. And because a lot of coaches will show up one way when you're on the recruiting visit, then you walk into the film room and you're like, who the hell is this person? I never met this person. This is a different human being. And so you gotta do your homework to find out if it's the right fit for you.
And that's exactly right. It's what you said before. It's like, have a conversation, build a relationship, not just with the coach, but with the other players.
That's right.
And so they ain't gonna,
no fluff. The kids will tell you.
They'll tell you the truth, man. That coach right there who's recruiting you, oh man, he's something else. I was like, what? I've only seen him, at my house. I'm sitting on my couch.
Yeah, it's nice.
Man, my mom makes.
He kissed my little baby sister.
Yes. Oh man, we love to play catch.
Yeah,
man, different person.
It's a different human being.
Saturdays.
That's right. And some of it, it's not that coaches can't be intense and do their thing, right? It's how do they treat people? Like at the core, do they really care about who you are and who you're going to become? And you can find that out from the kids that are in the program. Even if a coach is hard on you, because you want him to be hard on you and teach you and help you develop and grow. That's not what we're talking about. There is something different about some people that you just don't want your kids to be around.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they're developing. They're with them almost every day.
Yeah.
And so you would like for that coach, that strength coach, that whatever they're dealing with to grow your son or daughter.
Yeah.
Make them a better individual, not just a better athlete, but instill with them some of the things, some of the traits and some of the characteristics that's going to help them when they're done playing ball.
Yeah. Well, it's good stuff. I want to transition into leadership. I got the opportunity to listen to you do a deal with at an HR convention about a year ago now. Super impressed by the presentation. How did you go from being an NFL football player? What was that transition to kind of where you've gotten to now? And what is that methodology or philosophy behind leadership and how you teach it and coach it?
Man, great question, Anthony. One of the things that I learned at an early age is I learned how, you say with football, I learned football, like no joke, from an encyclopedia. No joke. My dad never played it. We really didn't watch it. I would play it out in the streets with my homeboys.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the positions were. I didn't know what a route is. What's a corner route?
Oh, that's
What's a post?
awesome.
What? And so I would go inside, and I was like, man, I was at an early age. I was, man, crying and stuff. Man, they don't pick me. And what's the post route, Dad? Who's Lynn Swan? And my dad's like, man, I don't know all this stuff. Yeah, hey, but check an encyclopedia. We have a whole set. Right? And I looked
actual books?
Yeah, actual books, right? We had no websites, none of that yet. And I learned the game at a young age. I learned it from reading at a foundational level, at foundation principles. And so I just applied that in everything that I did. It's like, I want to know what's the foundation of it, right? I want to know, like, understanding at that level. And then I can be able to take, and I can go anywhere with it. And so, but what the transition was, and when I stopped in the NFL, and I just thought I was going to coast, I was going to kick it, play lots of golf, work out whenever I wanted to, right? And so that happened, and I did that for like 6 months, and I was like, man, this is boring, right? And so we was in San Diego at the time. One of my neighbors, she was the CEO of this nonprofit. And she asked me to be a development coordinator or consultant. And I was like, cool. What's a development consultant? So she said, oh, you help raise money. I was like, okay, cool. So I did that for about 6 months, and then we moved up here. And once again, I was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I looked online, monster.com.
Yeah.
It was the old, what Indeed is now 20 years ago, it was something else. And so I remember looking nonprofit. And I looked, and I was, man, there was this entry-level position. Well, I just did some nonprofit work. Oh, I'm more than qualified. Yeah, let me go ahead and apply. And, I got invited for an interview. And Anthony, I went on this interview, and I did all my research. I did all my homework, and I was like killing it, right? She was asking me, do you know anything about us and who we, here's who you serve. This is how you get money. This is what you do. Boom, boom, boom. The gala, all this type of stuff, killing it, right? And then everything turned when she started asking me questions about who I am. And I didn't do my homework on that, right? And everything that I said, it pertained and was wrapped in football. And then finally, she was like, Alex, why do you want this job? I just need to get out the house. I said that on the interview. No joke. Now you have to understand, at the time we had 5 kids? We had 5 kids. I need to do something.
That's so good.
But I said that, and then she stopped the interview, closed up her book. She said, honey, sweetie, she's an older Black lady. You ain't going to get this job. She said, and here's the thing I want your listeners to take away is, she told me, I'm not going to get this job. And she told me why. She said, before you go on any more job interviews, you need to find out exactly who you are. Because right now, by the questions we spent 20 minutes in here, you don't know who you are.
It's great advice.
Dude, it took
great advice.
Everything. And I've been cut before.
Yeah.
Right? I played 8 years in the NFL. I've been released.
Yeah.
I've been cut like the what's that, Hard Knocks?
Yeah.
It's painful.
Yeah.
Like, I would much rather get cut 10 times than have somebody ever tell me I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
She walked me out the building, told me good luck. I went to my car and wept. And that started my journey. And like, man, I need to find out who I am.
Yeah.
And so I need to understand, like, what is influence? How do I influence people? What is leadership? Leadership is influence. And we're influenced by different things. We're influenced by relationships. We're influenced by character, right? How we communicate, success, failure, your knowledge, right? And your platform.
Yeah.
So there's there's 10 different influencers that I've, put in the book. And so it's, it's to help people understand and be intentional about how they go about leading.
So I love that. First of all, it's a great story. It's one of the best stories I've ever heard. Let's go backwards. So you also are a high school football coach and a parent, right?
Mhm.
Parent first, high school football coach.
Yep.
Decent program. Kind of the rival of where my son's going to go to high school, but you guys are a pretty decent program.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're working with young people or you're talking to parents of young people coming up, how do you start talking to kids about being leaders? What is resiliency part of being a leader? Or how do you put those two things together with being resilient, being a leader, integrating that into young people's lives?
Great question. Number one, it starts at home. It starts at home with the parents. And when I say it starts at home, you have to hold them accountable, right? I always start another perfect example. My 16-year-old who's a stud. He's got, he has a bright future in athletics and in football. And so I tell him that everything is connected. How you go about anything is how you go about everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when you tell me these things, that what you want to do, what you want to achieve, I said, man, that's great. Man, I believe in you. But don't come in and you talk about you. And I tell them, I said, look, you have to be disciplined to where you want to go, because not everybody, has what it takes. Genetics, work ethic, all that other type of stuff. You have to be disciplined above anything. Oh, I have discipline. You have discipline. But yet I have to tell you to take out the garbage every Tuesday. Right?
Right.
All right. Or I'm constantly like, I just cleaned up the kitchen and you left a mess.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a couple of crumbs. You could have cleaned that up. I said, see, there you go.
Yeah.
Right? There you go. It's the little things. Yeah. It's the little things. If you can't treat your little brother, right? If you can't create a relationship with them, how are you going to do that on the football field? Right? How do you take information from somebody who's in a position of leadership and take that authority and then take that and do exactly what it is, right? What, in school, you're not going to listen to your teachers. So how's that different than a coach?
Yeah.
It's somebody who's in a position of authority. So it's all connected. And for me, I parent, like, I want to know what you want to do, where you want to go, right? In terms of like the big picture. And so I'm always like, okay, you want to go to, whatever school that is. That's great. I said, you think the friends that you have, that they want the same things, right? Not everybody wants the same thing. And so you have to understand that you have to be different. You can't go out. You can't do all the things that other 16-year-olds do, going out to parties, drinking and doing all that type of stuff. Not if you're serious about this, dude, there's things that you're going to have to give up, but there's fruit on the end of it.
Yeah.
So I just hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Right.
Within your program, do you guys have specific leadership development stuff that you do throughout the course of a high school season, 4-year career of a high school kid that is specific to leadership development? Or do you find kids and just have conversations with them for coaches out there that are trying to, I've got this kid that's got a chance to be great. He's struggling a little bit in his leadership capabilities. Is there any sort of leadership development, baby steps that people can take to help either their own children, or if there's a coach out there listening that really wants to integrate that into their program?
Well, we don't really have anything like that. We just have, and we have coaches that care and they are interested in the kids and they want to build relationships. For me, I try to build relationships with all the players, right? And not just the defensive backs, because that's who I coach, but I try to get to know all of them and I ask them questions, right? When I wanted to when I was pursuing my wife
Yeah.
in college, I had to ask her questions about who she is,
About who she is, right?
what
Not
she
what you
like,
did on Saturday on the football field. She didn't
right?
care.
I would love that. Just, hey, did you see me? I was balling. You see how many interceptions I got?
That's right.
No, it's like, no, you get to know them and
Yeah.
what they like, what they dislike, what type of person is, how they were raised. So I just use that same template, right, to build a relationship with my athletes. And I get to know them outside of their sport. Right. And then it's so interesting. And here's another thing is I open up to them.
Yeah.
I'm vulnerable.
Yeah.
I said, man, when I was your age, man, I sucked at school.
Yeah.
And I thought I tried, but man, it was very difficult for me. And so it's like, man, I hear them, they have 3.5, 3.4 I was like, man, how do you do that?
Yeah.
That's so cool, man. You got a bright future. And so I share different things when not just the successes. They all know about,
Yeah.
Coach Molden and
Absolutely.
what he did. And no, I told them about the little things that, man, I wish I would have changed this. I wish I wouldn't have hung out with these type of people. I found out later, but if I would have did that as a freshman, man, I would have been so much farther down or along.
So you're the second coach I've had on here that has said the same thing. And I believe deeply in this. Ask young people questions, get them to talk about themselves. And it's not that hard. You got to find the time to do it, but it's not that hard. You can do it during the stretching time. If you're a basketball coach, when they're going through their warm-ups, when they're doing their form shooting, different sport, find a time that's quiet where you can have a conversation with a young person. Then eventually they're going to emulate what you do. And you hope that trickles down, right? I ask you about you. Hopefully your quarterback then, or your best DB will go ask the young freshman kid about them, right?
Yeah.
Like it's that learning to lead from how you're led and being a strong leader in front of them. And being a strong leader doesn't mean you're yelling at somebody all the time to do something.
Yeah.
It's showing an interest in who that person is, that you want them to replicate what you're doing and help you on the field.
Yeah. It's about connection, man.
Yeah.
When you're connected with somebody, and that's the foundational principle. When
Yeah.
you're connected, like at home, like I said, with my wife,
Yeah.
with my kids and whatnot, because I want them to be able to share things with me.
Yep.
Some of the stuff I wasn't really connected to my dad.
Yeah.
Right. I was scared of that man. Right. So I didn't tell him like all the stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But so I wanted to be able to, use a different template.
Yeah.
To say, man, if I want my kids to come with me with their problems, issues, and not saying I'm going to answer for them. I just, I can give them a different perspective, and I can tell them the truth. I make sure I tell them the truth, and I double down and ask them, are you sure you want the truth? Are you sure you're ready to hear it?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's critical. All right. So you transitioned out of football and now you're an author. I believe your book released today.
Yeah.
Well, that's great timing. That works out great. So, and it's called Breaking on the Ball of Life.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So we'll tell people where they can get that at the end of this. But is this your second or third book?
This is my second book.
Okay.
My first one was called The Ultimate Playbook for Athletes.
Okay.
And so it helps them in terms of kind of like navigating this whole, having this platform of being an athlete. And there's leadership woven in there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, it's time to write another one.
I love you. If I ever write a book, it'll be living your life one possession at a time. That's basketball, one possession at a time.
Yeah.
But so Breaking on the Ball of Life, I love it. What's the premise behind it? When people go out and get this, what are they gonna get from reading this? What was the thought process behind this?
So man, it's about making decisions, right? And the sport that I played, I had to be able to get information, process that information at a fairly quick rate,
mm-hmm.
and then produce an outcome. So I was just thinking like, well, what if I did that? I did something that a very limited amount of people do, right? There's, I don't know, 1.1 million high school athletes every year that play football, and to go pro, only 0.000167 to have a chance to play on Sundays.
It's crazy.
And then from that percentage, only 3% who make it to the NFL play 8 or more years.
It's unbelievable.
It's not because of my good looks. It's not because of my size, my speed, or my strength. It had to be something, information.
Yeah.
And so when I started to boil it down, I was like, man, making decisions. And not all the decisions are great. I made a horrible decisions on the field and off the field. And so I just I've kind of used this book to kind of break down um, decision making, how to make the best out of a terrible situation,
Yeah.
right? Not just all the good or bad. Now, what's the least
Yeah.
of the bad?
Yeah.
And then and I give examples of different people who've made mistakes, but they weren't defined by them.
Yeah.
Ryan Leaf, I have a story in there. I talk about him. Michael Vick, Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
I talk about,
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch, talk about like his brand. And you might not like it. He's kind of,
Yeah.
he's kind of out there, but he's Marshawn Lynch.
That's right.
Right. And so I just talk about these different things, and I give a process on how do you make decisions, and when you make bad ones, how do you like navigate that to still get a positive outcome.
It's that same idea of you're going to fail in something. How do you get back up from it and correct course as quickly as you possibly can to get a better outcome the next time,
and not be defined by that.
Yeah.
Right.
So this word resilience comes up a lot in sports. If you're in athletics for any number of years, one season, as much less as long as you played, you're going to have times where you're struggling. Media's mad at you. People are questioning your ability. You don't make the right play. You're not playing as much. How do you define resilience in yourself? And do you have a story, or people love hearing athletes talk about, we all know the good times. What was the bad time? What was the difficult time where you had to draw on something within yourself that helped you get back up and go do it again?
Absolutely. Man, resilience for me, it would be like bouncing back. If I had to like bouncing back.
Yeah.
But bouncing back and being better. In 92, I was a redshirt freshman, University of Oregon. We're playing in the Independence Bowl, the Poulon Weed Eater Independence Bowl. Okay.
Some of these have some of the best names, man.
Oh my gosh. And this was in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Now, this was before there was like 120 different bowl games. So this was a big deal. This is only the second bowl game that University of Oregon has played in 20 years. So this is a big deal. Anyway, I'm in there. I get an interception and I take it to the house. I'm like, the camera's on me, man. I'm loving this, right?
I was watching that game.
Is that right?
Oh yeah,
you saw that. I walked into the end zone, right? About half an hour later, I end up shredding my knee. Like I thought it was career ending. I tore my ACL, MCL, severely stretched my PCL, right? And I thought that was the death sentence. I thought that was it, right? And it happened because my eyes were in the wrong place. Because I was bloodthirsty. I just made a big play. I was on TV. Hey, Mom,
make another
I did all
one.
that. I'm gonna make another one.
Yeah.
So I didn't follow what I was taught, and I paid the price. But here's the thing: talking about resilience. That pain, what I went through, I don't wish it on anybody. But Anthony, it's the reason I'm sitting in front of you right now.
Yeah.
Because without that, it taught me that I can be able to come back. I need to become not just a better athlete. I need to become a better student of the game. I started watching film, not just watching, studying, taking notes. I started to work on the foundation of how to run again, right? And so I got a chance to work with our strength and conditioning coach, Jimmy Radcliffe, me and him one-on-one for like 4 months, an hour a day, 5 days a week. Do you understand like the gift that was?
Yeah, I do.
That was a gift. He taught me how to run again.
Yeah.
He taught me how to jump. So resilience, when setbacks happen, failure happens, it's not a death sentence. It can be time for you to refocus. I was running a 4.46 before that injury. And I was jumping 38. after that injury,
For those listening out there, that's very good. Just in case you're wondering what those metrics are, that's good. Okay, go ahead.
All right. After working all those things and learning it from a ground level, foundational level, he taught me how to run. I ran a 4.32.
That's
at my
better.
pro day. That is better. There was some people call that elite. Okay. I went from a 38-inch vertical to a 41 and a half.
Oh, that's awesome.
So think about that. It's like, man, so with that failure, that, what happened to me, it wasn't good at the moment, but because I was able to recalibrate and I was resilient,
Yeah.
I was able to become better. So it's not just, and that story is not just about athletics.
Yes.
Like it's a blueprint.
Yeah.
That when bad things happen, you can still make fruit from it.
Yeah. I'm so glad you shared that story. That's really what I believe athletics should at its core teach young people is how to be good, follow a process of how to be good. And then at some point in time, you're going to run into something. You're either going to run into an injury, you're going to run into somebody who's better than you, you're going to run into a team that's better than you, you're going to run into a tough relationship with a coach, a tough relationship with the player, all things that are going to happen to you later on in life. And in that safer environment of athletics, being able to draw from that later on in your life because you've been through it as a youngster is critical to that growth process if you're going to be a part of athletics.
Absolutely. And it comes down to, it's something that's foundational, but you come down to the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You when you work on the fundamentals and that starts to become like who you are.
Yeah.
So now when you're faced with adversity, you're always going to fall back to who you are.
Yeah.
People think that, yeah, man, the game or the situation came and I rose up to the occasion. No, you went back, you went to the fundamentals.
Yeah.
You went back to what you've been, the little things, right? Making character.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about that. And so it's boring.
It's
boring.
Yeah.
It's boring.
There's no TV cameras on
Yeah.
when you're doing rehab on your knee,
That's
right?
right.
They're on you when you're returning a touchdown.
That's right.
But they're not in there in that same room with you when you're rehabbing.
Yeah. It's about the little thing, the details. And, for me, I'm always, it's all about the details.
Yeah.
So it's the little things, because those little things, if you're not careful, they can become big things.
Yeah.
And errors or something that's going to help you along the way.
This has been so good. So we're going to wrap up here, and we do a couple things with everybody in each episode. Is the first one, I want you to kind of build a reverse crystal ball. Take yourself back to when you're 14. You can go whatever age you want to, but in your teen years. And this process, this experience of life that you've been through, both athletics and personal nature, if you could go back and just sit down next to young Alex Molden, and knowing everything you know now, what piece of advice would you give yourself as a young person?
I think, the same dedication, that same grit, that same, drive that I had for athletics and being the best football player that I can possibly be, is I would have told my younger self, have that same commitment in everything else in your life, whether it's in the school, in relationships, right? Make sure that those same principles, apply that in every area of your life. If I would have did that, man, I would have been just more intentional with the different relationships.
Yeah.
And I would have been thinking about, like, man, that, there's other people who are watching me.
Yeah.
And thank goodness that I didn't grow up in the era today when phones, cameras, and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Because
that's a whole episode.
But just put it like this. I've developed and I've grown.
Yeah.
I'm not the same person as I was.
Yeah.
Back
Well,
then, so.
None of us are. And it would be great if we could give ourselves advice when we're 14 and follow it, right? You can't do that. But what people listening can hear this is, like, be true to who you are, but be committed to all of those things.
Yeah.
Be committed not just to your sport. Learn all of that stuff from your sport and commit the same way to everything else that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's one last thing.
Yeah.
That really helped me out is because I used to get my feelings hurt a lot when growing up, and man, we wanted to work out with my buddies, and they say, hey man, okay, be at the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning. What? 6 o'clock? Okay, all right, I'll be there, and on the field or in the gym. And there was a lot of mornings when they all came. There was some mornings when only a few came, but most of it I was out there by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I got in my feelings. I would cry. I would do all this type of stuff and frustrated. Right.
Yeah.
And then I finally looked in the mirror and I was like, man, I have to understand this, that, and it's cold in Colorado in the wintertime. It's cold. But I would say, I finally had this one-on-one just with me in the mirror. I said, man, my goals don't care about how I feel.
Mm.
If you really like my goals, if you treat it like that as a person,
yeah,
or something like
separate entity,
separate, yeah,
yeah.
My goals are selfish.
Yeah,
they don't care how I feel.
Yeah.
So if I want those goals, if I want to get this scholarship, if I want to get these, good grades and whatnot, I need to put in the work, regardless of how I feel.
Yeah,
it's easy to do it when the sun is out, everybody's at the park, everybody,
right.
Man, let's go work out. Yeah, that's great,
right.
Man. But when it's cold and it's dark, it's wet, and you're by yourself, you're lonely, that's when like greatness, that's one of the pillars of it.
Yeah.
Is being able to do things, the hard things by yourself when no one else is watching.
It's such good advice. Well, the last thing we do, and you told me today earlier that you don't have a dad joke for me. So I make everybody tell me a dad joke.
I do not.
And I got one that I'm going to tell you. And this came from a listener. And by the way, if you ever want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I got a great note from someone on LinkedIn about what we're doing, and then they gave me a dad joke. So I'm going to tell the dad joke that I got on LinkedIn. Okay, here you go. If I have 4 quarters, why should you give me a $1 bill?
Why 4 quarters? I do not know.
Because it just makes sense.
Yeah, I would think that would be in a dad joke.
It's a dad joke category.
Not very funny, but
it's right.
It's kind of funny.
They make me laugh every single time. And I've got this dad joke book behind me, and I've got another one at home. And my wife is a home stager, and she always puts one in a house that she's staging. It's I love them, and they can't be too dumb. They make me laugh no matter how they come out.
Well,
so,
you know what? When I find one, I'm gonna send it.
All right, and we'll read it on the air.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for joining us. But before we go, how do people find you? Where do they find you? How do they get the book? I want people that are listening to support this. I think it's going to be obviously very valuable reading for people. How do we find you?
Well, like me, I'm very simple. You can just go to alexmolden.com.
Okay.
And you can find everything about me in terms of like my coaching, my consulting, my speaking, and how to purchase a book.
Well, I am grateful that you took the time today to come in here and speak to us. I think great story and incredible advice and content. Both parenting, coaching, and as an athlete, you have kind of the whole thing encompassed, and we wish you nothing but the best. I hope the book's a huge success.
Thank you very much, Anthony. This was fun, man.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I'm glad you had a good time too.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anthony Leverett back here, wrapping up the show with Alex Molden. Had a great conversation with him. Really, really enjoyed the time with him. And even though he didn't bring a dad joke and I had to bring one, his content and his value to the show was still incredible. Covered many topics, but I really felt like the part where we talked about becoming a leader and how do you become a leader was really, really relevant. And becoming a leader is something that everybody can do. It's not just if you have leadership qualities. Yes, that helps, but being able to help your teammate, being able to influence somebody to follow you, to help you. And if you're a great player or one of the people on your team that gets to play all the time and you want to win, what you want is other people having that same passion about the outcome that you're looking for. So being able to connect with and influence the people that are on as part of your team to help you reach that outcome and that goal is critical. And Alex touched on some of that. As a coach, just it's about connection to your kids, and you want to teach them how to lead. And one of the ways that you can do that is by connecting to them and modeling that same behavior, asking them questions about themselves, asking them about who they are, what's important to them, what is going on in their lives, and being vulnerable about what's going on in yours is a great way to model for young people about how to build that leadership characteristic, help grow young leaders. And then the other thing that Alex talked about is really personal story to him is resilience, and you'll hear the whole story, but he talked about that knee injury and what happened to him, running the touchdown in, and 30 minutes later he's on a stretcher heading into the locker room, never going to be able to play again in his mind. And the resilience, that bounce back from that injury to go from, being fast and jump high, being a great athlete, already was, to embracing the process of learning how to run again, learning how to jump again. And I thought it was super powerful. And obviously his outcome was that he ran faster and he jumped higher. Not only was he fast, he became elite fast, 4.3 something 40. You heard it on the podcast, but that is how you develop resilience. Something in sports is going to impact you negatively along the way. It's going to happen. You're going to lose. You're going to miss a shot. You're going to miss a goal. You're going to allow a goal. You're going to fumble. Something is going to happen that is not going to be the outcome that you've practiced so hard to get. How do you get back up from that and do that over again? And that's where I believe sports so important to the training and development of young people is a translatable skill to later in life. Life happens to all of us. Unless you are the only person that I haven't met anyone who hasn't had something happen to them that they have to be resilient from. And he gave a great story, great example of what that is to overcome. Really appreciate Alex coming on the show. Check out his book. He is alexmolden.com. Find him, follow him, and keep following us. Anywhere you get your podcasts, rate us, share us, write us a review. Really helps with everything that you do. And on behalf of Jason and I, we both appreciate everybody listening and following the show. One more time, if you want to connect with me, I had a great conversation on the phone with someone that reached out to me on LinkedIn. It was dealing with the parent-child issue within their sports program, and talked to him on the phone for about 45 minutes last night. Please reach out, give us your thoughts, and if you ever need to connect, let us know. Thanks again. We'll talk to you next time.